and nasty crawl spaces too. Call Connecticut Basement Systems for all things basementy.
Contour. Pause. I love this song.
Yeah, Feel It Still.
Wait a minute. Pause. What?
The song, Feel It Still?
No, I don't feel it. You know what? Never mind. Contour. What song is this?
What do you know?
Contour's voice remote gets you right to the good stuff.
I'm Larry Janeski from Connecticut Basement Systems. We're the all things basementy company. Basement waterproofing, basement finishing, basement structural repair, and nasty crawl spaces too. Call Connecticut Basement Systems for all things basementy.
This morning, NASA's newest satellite designed to measure ice sheets over the North and South Poles is in its permanent orbit. The advanced ICESat-2 launched last month from California. It replaces a satellite that failed in 2009. Since then, NASA has relied on Operation Icebridge, which sends planes to Antarctica from South America to study how fast ice sheets are melting. Mark Phillips went aboard for the latest installment in our Climate Diary series. He spoke to the scientists about working at a time when climate science seems to have fallen out of political favor.
Too low terrain.
The crew on these NASA flights over Antarctica hear the automatic cockpit alarm go off a lot.
Altimeter setting. Altimeter setting.
It's what happens when you convert a 50-year-old plane into an airborne lab and fly it really low over the Antarctic ice cap. But 1,500 feet is where you have to be for the lasers and radars and cameras to gather the best data they can on what the ice is doing. And what it's doing is melting at an ever quicker rate.
Are you seeing less of it? Is it moving more quickly? Is it melting more quickly?
In very general terms, all three things you just said are correct. Yeah, we are seeing, in general, less ice.
And less ice, mission scientist John Sontag says, means more rise to the world's sea levels. It's not easy being a government climate scientist these days, not when the chief executive of the government rejects or ignores your work. As President Trump confirmed again to Leslie Stahl this week on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, but what about the scientists who say it's worse than ever?
You'd have to show me the scientists because they have a very big political agenda.
Yet up here they insist they have no agenda. They let the data do the talking, and the data is not in denial.
You know, we're not politicians here. We're not policy people. We're just engineers and scientists. I don't know anything about politics, but I do know how to measure changing ice.
Which isn't to say they aren't passionate about what they do.
When I look out the window, I just see like artwork almost. It's just so beautiful.
Lynette Boisvert is a sea ice scientist who isn't here just to look out of the office window.
The better we can understand how the ice reacts with the ocean, the better we can be informed for the future of what could possibly happen with climate change.
Down here at the bottom of the world, there is no politics, there is only science. And the scientists on board can only gather their data and hope somebody's listening.
It's fact. So people can't hide from facts forever, and I think the American people understand that.
Your hope is that the science prevails.
Yeah, my hope is that the science prevails, and I think it will, because in the long path of human history, it always has.
Science and hope, 1,500 feet above the ice. For CBS This Morning, I'm Mark Phillips, over Antarctica.
All right, Mark. Despite the Me Too movement, many fathers are not talking to their sons about sex and consent. Wall Street Journal reporter Elizabeth Bernstein addresses the issue in her new column. She's in our Toyota Green Room. Hey, Elizabeth, to explain when you should have the talk and what you should say. Get ready to take some notes. I won't name names. You're watching CBS This Morning.
I've thought about it for a while.
My mom's pain from moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis was intense. I wondered if she could do the stuff she does for us, which is kinda a lot. And if that pain could mean something worse.
Joint pain could mean joint damage. Enbrel helps relieve joint pain and helps stop irreversible joint damage. Enbrel Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections. Serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu.
Since Enbrel, my mom's back to being my mom.
Visit Enbrel.com and use the joint damage simulator to see how joint damage could progress. Ask about Enbrel. Enbrel. FDA approved for over 19 years.
I've seen Jaws a million times. Never gonna unsee this.
Catching this killer puts the T-Man over their heads.
You're gonna give me the gun.
NCIS New Orleans, new tonight.
The loss that changes the SEAL team forever.
None of this makes sense to me.
In the episode that shows that being a Navy SEAL is more than just a uniform. It's family.
Gonna get through this, Jason.
New SEAL Team, CBS Wednesday.
Car wreck, get Carter. Carter Mario. Carter Mario.
Carter Mario, the first and last name in injury law.
Carter Mario.
This is Bob the Rebuilder, and this is his mentor. He's a builder too.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
This is Bob's plan. It's been called Trumpian. It cuts education spending, bigger class sizes, closes ERs, and raises healthcare costs, and eliminates the minimum wage completely, all to pay for tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy. When Bob rebuilds, Connecticut loses.
I'm Ned Lamont, and I approve this message.
I found my keep my bottom line top of mind place.
I found my lending experts who don't treat me like a novice place.
I found my if growth is king, then I'm royalty place.
With business loans for every size business, quick approvals, and products to make managing your money simple, Liberty Bank keeps your business moving forward.
I found my I'm on top of my money and I love the view place.
Liberty Bank. Find your confident place.
Covering Windsor and all of Hartford County, Eyewitness News is everywhere.
The Me Too movement fueled the national dialogue on sexual misconduct, but research shows parents may not be talking to their kids about sex and consent. A 2017 report from the Harvard Graduate School of Education found 61% of young people have not talked to their parents about being sure your partner wants to have sex and is comfortable doing so before having sex. It's a topic Wall Street Journal columnist Elizabeth Bernstein explores in her new article, How Fathers Should Talk with Their Sons About Sex in the Me Too Era. Bernstein writes about relationships in her column called Bonds. Elizabeth Bernstein, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to weigh in. I'm a father. I want to hear what you, I want to hear what you found from the fathers you talked to.
Well, it's very interesting. I wanted to write this article because I write on sort of sexual harassment, sex issues sometimes in my column, and a lot of fathers were writing and saying several things. One, I don't know how to talk about this, but one thing that was troubling is they were writing and saying, how do I protect my son from girls? There's so many false reports, and that just isn't true. It's just not there's not a rash of false reports where girls are accusing boys of misconduct that is not right. So I wanted to give some information to fathers and sort of shed some light on this issue.
Were you hearing that, Elizabeth, before the recent Kavanaugh conversation was in the culture?
It came up a lot with Kavanaugh. It was with the Me Too, yes. It was coming up as Me Too over the last year or two. Has come up and been a big dialogue. It was coming up. But Kavanaugh, yes, it brought it up a lot.
You say people have to talk about assault and consent because most people believe that assaults happen in the dark by a stranger that jumps out. That's why kids should know what assault means and what consent means.
Yeah, as we all grew up, that was the big issue. There was danger from diseases or AIDS, but also that the assault was going to come at you from a dark corner, a parking garage, or a street that was dark. Don't walk home alone. But that's not really also the full picture. Many assaults are somebody the person knows, the victim knows.
And this is new terrain for parents as well, because maybe in their generation, the major issues were safe sex and how to avoid contracting AIDS and sexual sexually transmitted diseases, correct?
Exactly. So that's how we grew up. We also grew up, it's very uncomfortable to talk about this. Many today's fathers, their fathers didn't talk to them. And so one of the experts told me, you father how you were fathered. So if you didn't learn how to have this conversation, how do we really know how to have it?
So Elizabeth, one of the things I liked about your piece too is that you didn't just explain the problem, you offered some solutions here, and there's a whole list of how actually to do this, some of the conversations that you have. Talk early and often, look for teaching moments. You also say focus on values and self-respect. That's not something new. That's been by good parents taught to kids for a long time.
All the time, and just not around this area. Again, the conversation is difficult, so to focus it in, a boy should respect himself and understand I want to be the type of boy and man who respects women.
Why is it so? Go ahead,
This conversation came up much in the way it did in my house when the president was boasting about sexual assault on the Access Hollywood tape, and not only the boasting about it, but then calling it locker room talk as if that made it somehow okay. Did you find that conversation and the way we talk about it, in other words, this isn't something to joke about, this isn't something that's in some protected space to talk about joking about sexual assault, did that come up much in men?
Sure, because our children are watching what's going on out there, right? And they're also watching whether we're speaking about it, whether we're talking about it. And so a lot of uncomfortable conversations had to come up. But yes, the fathers are saying, how in this era, and mothers too, how do we talk to our children? They're hearing words on TV